Thanks very much. I only have the one slide. It's one picture. The picture will make sense as I go along. I haven't put my name on it. My name is Russell. I'm Russell Bentley. I'm the Assistant Pro Vice Chancellor for Education. I like to start things with a good story. There's a legend told of ancient Egypt about the god Thoth, who invented many of the arts that were given to human beings and which are said to have benefited them greatly. He's said to have invented geometry, said to have invented astronomy. He's even said to have invented the calculation of probabilities. He would present his inventions to the god king Thamos, who would pronounce on whether or not they were acceptable and therefore could be given to human beings. So one day, there's always a one day, Thoth approached Thamos with a new invention which he promised would make human beings wise and would strengthen their powers of recollection. And that invention was letters. That is, the art of writing. Thoth spoke very passionately about this particular invention. Its many possibilities could not be praised highly enough, and he soared to greater and greater rhetorical heights, trying to get the god king Thamos to approve it. Thamos listened very patiently as Thoth praised his latest innovation. He heard him explain how it would be a boon to mankind, and how it would greatly enhance the human experience. At the end of Thoth's long speech, Thamos looked at him slightly sardonically and gently rebuked him and reminded him that the inventor is not always the best judge of the invention. Thamos explained that the art of writing would not make humans wiser, but would only give them a semblance of wisdom. They would be able to read and write their thoughts, but it would not teach them to think. The scripts they wrote would be like statues. You can gaze upon the statues, but the statues maintain a stony silence and tell you no more than what you can already see. The written word can never question the reader, can never converse with the reader, can never adapt to changes in the reader. And Thamos also worried that memory would become forgetfulness. Humans would no longer remember what had not been written down. What they called memory would be reduced merely to reminiscing. Written language was once a cutting-edge technology. Whatever its true origins, we can say conclusively that Thoth was correct about his invention and Thamos was incorrect about it. The art of writing fundamentally transformed human civilization into something unrecognizable to the oral cultures that preceded it. We know much of what we do now because the wisdom of the past survived in written texts and have been transmitted across the generations to us. Indeed, the legend of Thoth and the art of writing is reported to us in a written text. And the tale I just told is a version that was borrowed from another particular writer in ancient history. Plato presents the version that I just gave you in one of his written texts called the Phaedrus. Now, Plato might very well have made up this particular version of the story, but that doesn't really matter. Or I should say that it does matter in at least one important way. The art of writing can assist the powers of creative imagination. Plato's own literary inventions are made possible because he had the art of writing. And consider this as well. Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, was a student of Socrates. Socrates, however, never wrote a word. He never committed any of his own thoughts to writing. Whatever we know about Socrates comes from Plato's written texts. The teachings of Socrates would have been lost forever without the art of writing, but they were not lost, and thus the thought of Socrates, thanks to a particular technology, created the entire Western tradition, and that is certainly no exaggeration. Which also means that the seemingly simple technology of writing made us who we are. And if you're not from a Western culture, the Western culture's conquest of the globe has made you who you are. Clearly then, cutting-edge technology has impact, if not advantages. However, Thamos was not a fool. His worries about technology were not groundless. While we can look back and say that human civilization would not have been able to achieve what it has without the technology of writing, in general, technology is never neutral. A new technology is never merely a tool. What seems like a tool actually embodies a fundamental change, not only in what we do, but in who we are. Thamos correctly recognized that the art of writing would change human beings, not just equip them to do different things. Indeed, the inventor himself praised the art of writing for precisely the same reason. Thoth's chief claim was that writing would make humans and their society better. Do we really need to state the obvious? The double-edged nature of technology is very well known. One of the most popular interdisciplinary modules at this university focuses on the dual nature of science, taking the Jekyll and Hyde story as its starting point. But the technology, in combination with the aims of education, I would say lead us, or possibly even require us, to explore a whole new range of concerns. If we accept the basic truth that education is a transformative experience for learners, we can present this as one clear question. What transformation will occur with technology-enhanced learning? Not what will students and lecturers be able to do? What will it lead people to become? Now, to some of you, this might immediately sound like the skeptic's question. The question you are asked when you go on to say technology-enhanced learning presents some kind of grave threat and that it's going to destroy the world that we hold dear. Pocket calculators. I don't know if anyone still has a pocket calculator that isn't a part of their phone, but pocket calculators were at one time feared as the death knell of mathematical knowledge. Schools considered banning them. They were afraid that pupils would lose the art of arithmetic operations. Such things very easily, almost perilously easy, lend themselves to moral panics and can trap people in a small c conservatism. Conservatism that's captured by the idea of fearing any change at all. But it isn't all moral panic, of course. One is reminded of a comment by Edmund Burke, the father of British conservatism, when he was writing about the French Revolution. He said it might be all well and good that the revolutionaries overthrow the monarchy in the name of freedom, but before you give someone their freedom, it might be prudent to ask them what they intend to do with it. The sickening image of the guillotine severing heads would suggest that Burke was not just being cranky about the French, about revolutions, or about new inventions like the guillotine. It's very likely that many people here today have heard a version of that skepticism more than a few times. If you've spoken to academic colleagues who look a little bit askance at the suggestion that we should be innovating at all, I'm talking to you. You will be familiar, no doubt, with the attempt to dismiss innovation in general and education technology in particular. Whatever specific argument is made, it's going to fall, though, mainly into one of three categories. The objector might be arguing that the innovation jeopardizes other things that we value and that we want to protect, and therefore we shouldn't do it. Or, and I'm sure you might have heard this one as well, the objector will say that, perversely, what you will actually achieve is the exact opposite of your stated aims. This innovation is going to take you to the opposite of what you hope to achieve. So we shouldn't do it. Or third, and I think this is very common in many organizations, but it's ubiquitous in universities. Your objector might have become the arch cynic and will say that all innovation is futile because nothing ever really changes. The transformation that occurs through education is simply too important not to take objections seriously. However, let's turn skepticism upside down. Let's look at the opportunities available and direct the adoption of technology towards fulfilling those opportunities. To do that, we need to refine the skeptical question and ask, what changes do we want to see in those human beings who come to us for an education? And there's a deep ethical point hidden in this question that often gets glossed by phrases like 21st century skills or lifelong learners. Sometimes it gets subsumed under that unattractive, indeed ugly word, employability. The ethical point is best expressed, though, by the idea of living a responsible life. It is a life that is self-directed. It is a life that is based on a plan drawn up and executed by the person living the life. It's a life in which one can exercise influence over the circumstances within which that life is lived. We don't often talk in political terms about these things, but it is, in fact, the life of a citizen living in a democracy. That reluctance to adopt political language, I think, is worth dwelling on for just a moment. Education, whatever else we can say about it, is profoundly political. No human society has ever been indifferent to the development of the rising generation of community members. Or to put it another way, every human society has been very concerned that the rising generation of community members can make contributions to that community in a way that the community thrives, flourishes, and continues into the future. Therefore, if we educate, we unavoidably commit a political act. If no tool is neutral, be assured as well that no education is politically neutral. So when asked what kind of transformation do we want to see in learners, the answer must be that our students are prepared to live lives that are demanded by this democratic ideal, which is the ideal of our community. But the answer isn't about being idealistic, although I make no apologies if that's how I sound. It is very much, though, about maintaining an ethical foundation, not only for our decisions about technology for learning, but about any innovations that we care to bring to bear on the curriculum. Question: what should drive our analyses and adoption of technologies for learning? The answer, I suggest, their contribution to the development of a democratic character. This is a tall order, and it's not a question that we typically answer in the way I just did. The world currently demands that all education be merely instrumental, useful for achieving some practical goal, not part of the development of a fully human personality. You can do that in your free time. Join a club, take up a hobby, play a sport. That's what makes you a fully human person. The contemporary imperatives, in other words, are fundamentally about disempowering individuals instead of promoting the powers of self-direction. The democratic ideal is what we should fix our minds upon, because it is the only weapon that will combat the instrumentalization of higher education. On the other hand, by succumbing to the contemporary imperatives, technology-enhanced learning will become a byword for gimmicky techniques and pointless flashiness. So our challenge is to harness the cutting-edge technology in deliberate ways. Like Thoth and Thamus, we know that technology will change people, so our responsibility is to direct that change in ways that are appropriate to the kind of society we wish to have. Thank you very much.